I remember the exact sound of the school voicemail that changed everything. That soft, polite tone telling me my daughter had gotten into an incident. That word, incident, still echoes in my head like a bruise that never fades. I was in my cafe, mid-shift, when it played. I didn't even wait to close the register. I threw my apron off and ran through the rain, half soaked by the time I reached the car. It wasn't even about fear yet. It was instinct, raw and cold. When you're a single mom, you don't think. You move. By the time I reached the school, she was sitting outside the principal's office, knees pulled up, backpack at her feet, eyes too big and too still. She wasn't crying. That scared me more than anything. "Sweetheart," I whispered, crouching beside her. "What happened?" She looked up, voice small. "It wasn't my fault, Mom. I just told him to stop." Then the door opened, and he stepped out, a man, tall, dark suit, no tie, calm in a way that made the air tighten. The kind of calm you only see in people who've seen too much. His eyes moved straight to me, steady, assessing, deliberate. I felt it in my stomach. He said, "You must be her mother." Not a question. A statement, yes. My voice caught, and I hated that it did. "Who are you?" He looked down at his son, a boy about my daughter's age, maybe 10, then back up. "I'm Luca's father." He paused, almost as if tasting the words. "I wanted to meet the woman raising the girl who hit my son." "She didn't hit him," I snapped. He didn't flinch. "Then perhaps you'll explain why he has a bruise." The principal intervened, words like neutral smoke between two fires. Something about a playground argument, a misunderstanding, both kids defending someone smaller, but none of that mattered. What mattered was the silence between me and him. Even then I knew. This wasn't about the kids. Not anymore. When I took my daughter home that day, I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd been seen. Not in the way you see a stranger, but the way someone marks a file in their mind, keeps it. 2 days later, he showed up at my cafe. He didn't say hello. Just ordered black coffee. Stood at the counter, eyes quiet, fixed on me. "You didn't have to come," I said, voice sharp. He smirked, barely. "I didn't, but I wanted to." The air around him bent. Customers hushed without knowing why. Even the espresso machine seemed to breathe slower. I tried to act unfazed. "If this is about the kids, it's settled." Not quite. He took a sip, watching me over the rim. "My son likes your daughter. He doesn't like anyone. And that's my problem because I need to know who she's learning kindness from." He leaned in slightly. "And who's teaching her to throw punches?" That made me laugh, bitter and nervous. "You think I'm raising some kind of threat?" "No," his tone dropped, low, deliberate. "I think you're raising someone brave." Which is rarer. Something in my chest cracked open. Tiny, reluctant. I hadn't heard words like that in years. When he left, he didn't ask my name, but he already knew it. That night, I couldn't sleep. I told myself it was anger. It wasn't. It was the quiet thrill of being noticed by someone I should have run from. Days passed. He started showing up again. Sometimes for coffee, sometimes just to stand outside, pretending to take calls. My coworkers whispered. I ignored them. I told myself he was just another rich man with control issues. But there was something else. Something gentler in the way he watched my daughter laugh from afar when he came by during pickup. Then one night, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Don't go home. That was it. 3 words. I froze, staring at the message. Then came the second one. It's not safe. Before I could reply, tires screeched outside. Gunshots. Windows cracked. My daughter screamed from her room. I grabbed her, heart punching my ribs, ran to the back door. Outside, the alley smelled of rain and metal. I saw a car, a black one, waiting, headlights off. The passenger door opened. He was inside. Get in, he ordered. I hesitated. My daughter clung to me. Now, I got in. Because fear isn't rational, it's survival. He drove fast, silent, jaw locked. My daughter sobbed quietly beside me. I finally whispered, "Who the hell are you?" His answer was soft. "The reason you're still alive." And that was the first night I realized the man who terrified me might be the only one keeping us safe. I didn't understand the silence of that house until it began to feel like a living thing. It wasn't peace, it was watchful. Every sound had weight. Every door that closed seemed to seal me in tighter. He called it protection. I called it captivity. 3 days passed before I saw the outside again. My daughter Lily adjusted faster. Kids adapt. They don't overthink safety when it looks like comfort. There were gardens, tall windows, a cook who smiled too little. She watched cartoons while I paced, waiting for answers he refused to give. On the 4th morning, I found him in the kitchen. Coffee, immaculate suit, no tie, as if danger required style. I said, "You can't just keep us here." He didn't look up. "I can." I forced my voice steady. "Who are you really?" He took a long sip before answering. "The man who stopped a bullet meant for your window." My stomach dropped. "You think that scares me into gratitude?" "No." He turned, gaze quiet and surgical. "I think it reminds you that the world isn't what you thought." "Then explain it." He studied me, then sighed, like someone weary of lying. "My name is Matteo Rinaldi. People think of me as a businessman. People?" He hesitated. "The kind who don't use last names in conversation." It hit me like cold water. "Mafia." He didn't deny it. Just stared until I stopped pretending I wanted the truth. I whispered, "You're saying they came after us because of you." "I'm saying they came after me. And missed." I pressed my palms against the counter, shaking. "You dragged us into your war." He stepped closer, voice dropping to a murmur. "If I hadn't intervened, you'd be dead." Something in his tone made me stop. Not arrogance. Not threat, regret. I said, "I want to leave." He nodded slowly. "You can, but they'll find you before you reach the next city." That was the first time I believed him. Later that night, after Lily had gone to bed, I found him outside under the porch light, smoking. The air smelled like rain and gun oil. I asked, "Do you ever get tired of pretending you're calm?" He exhaled smoke through a small smile. "Do you ever get tired of pretending you're not scared?" I sat beside him. I don't know why. Maybe because honesty, even when cruel, felt cleaner than pity. He said, "You want to know why I care?" I didn't say that. "You don't have to. I can hear it in the way you say my name like it burns your mouth." "I never said your name." He looked at me, that slow, devastating calm again. "You just did." I looked away, cheeks hot, chest unsteady. He continued, "You remind me of someone I used to protect. Before I learned protection and destruction are the same job." "Who?" "My wife." I froze. "You're married?" "Was." His voice went quiet. "She and my son's mother, both gone. My enemies don't send flowers." The words landed heavy, unvarnished. He didn't flinch when he said them. That was the worst part. How grief could live inside a man so still. I whispered, "And now you think you can rewrite that story with me?" "No." He crushed the cigarette under his shoe. "I think maybe I can stop it from repeating." We didn't speak again for 2 days. But his presence filled every silence, his shadow crossing the hallway, the echo of his shoes on marble floors. The kind of man who carries gravity like perfume. Lily adored him. I tried not to notice. He'd kneel beside her drawings, ask about the colors, the shapes. He'd laugh softly at her stories, the kind of laugh that sounds like it's been locked away for years. She told me one night, "He makes me feel safe, Mom." I wanted to say, "He shouldn't." But I couldn't. Because part of me felt the same. Then came the night everything broke. He burst into my room close to midnight, breath sharp, eyes colder than I'd seen. "Get up," he ordered. "What's happening?" Now, I threw on a coat, heart hammering. Lily was already in his arms, half asleep, clinging to his neck. The hallway lights flickered. Outside dogs barked. Engines roared in the distance. "Matteo, don't talk," he said low. "Just move." He led us through a back passage I hadn't noticed before. Steel, concrete, the smell of fuel. A garage door lifted, revealing a black SUV. When we got inside, he spoke for the first time in miles. They found the safe house. Someone inside betrayed me. How do they even know about me? Because they saw me choose you. He said it without looking at me. and the meaning hit like a blade. I wasn't just collateral, I was leverage, he continued. They'll assume you matter, and that makes you valuable. And my daughter? His knuckles tightened on the steering wheel. Untouchable, as long as I breathe. I hated him for the way those words both terrified and comforted me. We drove through the night, headlights slicing fog and silence. Lily slept in the back seat, hand curled around a stuffed rabbit. Around dawn, we stopped by a lake house miles from anywhere. He got out first, scanned the horizon, motioned us in. It was smaller than the mansion. More human. Faded curtains, wooden floors, a smell of old pine. When he locked the door, I said, "You're bleeding." He looked down, blood soaking through his shirt near the shoulder. "It's nothing." I grabbed a towel. "Sit down." He hesitated, then obeyed. I pressed the cloth to his wound. He hissed. "You're braver than you think." "Or dumber," I muttered. He laughed, quiet, genuine. It startled both of us. I said, "You're risking your life for people you barely know." He looked at me then, really looked. "You think I don't know you? You'd die for that little girl without blinking. You'd walk through hell if it meant she smiled again. I know exactly who you are." Something inside me cracked. The truth of it burned. I whispered, "And what about you? Who are you when no one's watching?" He didn't answer right away. Then softly, "A man who wanted out too late." I pressed the towel harder, felt his pulse under my hand. "Then get out now." He shook his head. "If I leave, they come after everyone I ever touched. You mean us." He didn't deny it. That night we didn't sleep. We sat across from each other at the kitchen table while the world outside stayed black and still. He said, "You shouldn't trust me." "I don't." "Then why are you still here?" "Because I don't trust anyone else either." He smiled faintly. Smart. Silence again, but different this time. Heavy with everything unsaid. Finally, he reached across the table, fingers brushing mine. It wasn't a move of dominance or seduction. It was surrender. A man who'd spent his life taking control, finally letting go. And I let him. The world shrank to the space between our hands. Then headlights flashed outside. Bright. Sudden, wrong. He was on his feet instantly. "Stay here. Matteo, stay." He moved to the window, gun drawn. I heard voices, shouted commands in a language I didn't recognize. Lily woke up crying. I ran to her, pulled her behind me. Gunfire shattered the glass. Screams, smoke, chaos. Matteo returned fire. I couldn't think, couldn't breathe. Just clung to Lily and prayed the walls would hold. Then silence. When I looked up, he was gone. Door wide open, smoke drifting through. Outside, the night was empty. Only his gun lay on the porch, still warm. Hours later, I found the note on the counter, stained with blood. "Don't look for me. Tell her I kept my word." I read it once, then twice, then tore it in half because I refused to believe it. But when the news came that morning, about the shootout downtown, the arrest of Matteo Rinaldi, the fall of the Rinaldi family empire, I knew. He hadn't run. He'd surrendered. He'd traded his freedom for ours. That was the night the fear finally broke, and grief took its place. I told Lily we were safe now. She believed me. I wanted to. But in the quiet, I still felt him. The ghost of his voice, the weight of his hand, the echo of a promise I never asked for, and the unbearable truth that I'd fallen in love with the man who destroyed his own world just to keep mine intact. 6 months. That's how long silence has been my only answer. 6 months since the night Matteo disappeared into the smoke and I stopped believing that closure meant peace. Lily and I live in a small coastal town now. The kind of place where people wave when you drive by and never ask why you came. I like it that way. I rent a small apartment above a bakery. Mornings smell like sugar and salt water. Evenings, like coffee grounds and loneliness. I tell people I'm a widow. It's easier than explaining the truth, that the man who saved my life was the same man who ruined his own to do it. Lily's thriving. She laughs again, louder than I remember. She draws the ocean every day, Says it reminds her of the sound of Mateo's car when it drove through the rain. I don't correct her. Children have their own ways of forgiving the world. But me, I still hear echoes. I still wake up expecting the low hum of his voice outside my door, the faint smell of smoke on his jacket, the calm that terrified me because I'd never known what peace and danger felt like until him. The news says he's alive, serving time. Organized crime syndicate dismantled. That's how they phrase it. They don't mention how many lives were saved when he walked into that police station and handed over everything. They don't mention me or Lily. They don't mention how he kept his promise. For the longest time, I didn't write to him. I told myself he wouldn't want the reminder, that he needed distance to survive. But truthfully, I was afraid that if I saw his words, I'd start waiting for him again. And then one day, an envelope came. No return address, just my name, written in handwriting I could never mistake. Inside, I'm alive. She's safe. That's all that matters. Don't come here. Don't visit. The less they know, the longer I breathe. Tell her I'm proud of her. And tell yourself you did nothing wrong. He didn't sign it. He didn't have to. I read it once. Then I read it again until the paper softened under my fingers. And for the first time I cried. Not out of fear, but release. Months passed. I kept the cafe going, kept Lily in school, kept pretending the ordinary could erase the extraordinary. But it doesn't. Not when you've seen what love looks like under fire. Sometimes at night I sit by the ocean. The tide comes in heavy, violent. I imagine he's somewhere hearing the same water crash against another shore. It's easier to love him like that. From a distance the world can't ruin. Then came the night everything shifted again. Lily came home from school holding something. A small folded note, slipped into her backpack by a boy named Luca. The same Luca. The one she'd defended that day on the playground. She said, "He moved back to town, Mom. He wants to see me." My breath caught. "Luca Rinaldi?" She nodded. He said his dad might be coming home soon. The world tilted. I hadn't said Mateo's name aloud in over a year. That night I couldn't sleep. I sat in the dark, the note burning a hole in my pocket. I knew what it meant. Parole. Release. The life I'd buried clawing its way back to the surface. And I was terrified. Not of him, but of who I'd become without him. 2 weeks later, he walked into my cafe. He didn't look like a myth anymore. The suit was gone. The hair was shorter, streaked with gray. He looked smaller. Quieter. Like someone who'd spent too long trying to make himself disappear. He stood at the counter, waiting until I looked up. "Hi," he said softly. My throat closed. "You shouldn't be here." I know. Silence stretched between us, heavy and merciless. The air carried every unsaid word from the years in between. I finally managed. "You look human?" He offered, half a smile. "Different." He nodded. "Good. That was the point." I tried to steady my hands as I poured coffee. He watched, quiet, the way he always used to. Then I saw her, from a distance. "She's taller." "Don't," my voice cracked. "Don't make this harder than it already is." He leaned on the counter, eyes steady. "I didn't come to make it harder. I came to say thank you. For what? For surviving me." Something inside me broke again. Cleanly, quietly. Because that's what love does when it's real. It doesn't demand to be fixed. It asks to be understood. We sat down after closing. The world outside dimmed to shadows. He said, "When I was inside, I kept thinking about that night. The gunfire, your face when I told you to run. I thought if I lived long enough, I'd come back to tell you I was sorry." "For what? Saving us? For making you pay for it." "You didn't make me pay." "Yes, I did." He looked at his hands. "You stopped trusting people because of me. You still flinch at loud sounds. You still check the windows twice. That's on me." I swallowed hard. "And yet I'm alive." "So is she." He nodded slowly. "Then I did one thing right. Silence. Then I said what had been buried in my chest for years. I loved you, Mateo." He looked at me. No mask, no calm, no armor. Just a man stripped to bone. "I know," he whispered. "That's why I left." I shook my head. "You don't get to rewrite that. You left because you thought love made you weak." He smiled faintly. And you're here proving it made you strong. That was the moment I realized our story wasn't about rescue. It was about return. Not to him, but to myself. He reached across the table, same way he had that night before the bullets. His fingers brushed mine. The contact was electric and brief, but it was enough. He said, "I'm leaving tomorrow. Witness relocation. New country. I can't tell you where." My heart clenched. Then why come back at all? He took a slow breath. "Because I needed to see you alive before I disappear for good." Tears blurred the edges of everything. "You always disappear." He smiled, soft, almost peaceful. "Someone has to make room for you to live." I wanted to ask him to stay. I didn't. Because love, the real kind, isn't possession. It's release. The next morning, he was gone. Again. No note this time. Just a photograph left under the cafe door. Me and Lily on the beach, unaware. His shadow faintly visible in the distance. Weeks passed. The world went on pretending men like him never existed, but I know better. Sometimes Lily asks, "Do you think he'll ever come back?" And I tell her the truth. He already did. Because what he left behind wasn't absence. It was proof. Proof that redemption is possible, that ruin doesn't always mean the end, and that even in the darkest corners, love can rewrite its own name. Now, when I close the cafe at night, I don't look over my shoulder anymore. I just lock the door, turn off the lights, and listen to the sea outside. I think about the girl I used to be, the one who thought love was supposed to be safe. The one who didn't know safety and love don't always share a home, and I think about him. Matteo Rinaldi, the man my daughter's friendship accidentally led me to, the man who taught me that sometimes the wrong people show up at exactly the right time. I still carry him. Not as a wound anymore, but as a scar. Smooth, healed, part of me. Because some stories don't end, they just stop bleeding, and somehow, after everything, we found our way home.